one recording, I have like 5 different things. The last of which, the 5th one, I didn't really realize I was going to do until I saw like a couple shirts that I got. And I was like, these all work in one video, kinda. But let me do the first 4 that I was already planning on doing, and then I'll get to the other ones later. I'm also well caffeinated, well hydrated. I think today will be good. We'll see. It's weird because it's also, I'm hallucinating in front of a camera the entire time, and I have to make it seem like I actually care about what I'm talking about, which I do. It's just there's no other people here. It's just me. First one is emotionally empathetic understanding. Where was I going to go with that? I looked at all the stuff I was going to look at, and then I forgot why I started in the first place. Specifically, that one saying of feeling seen and heard, but not with the solution. The tone of voice of something can mean just as much as the actual wording itself. For example, so I've got 2 different studies, and I'm just referencing the abstract of both of them, not necessarily the entire study itself, because I'm sure there's a lot of good information. I'm just like, I also don't want to overthink it, because I will obviously do that. This is a study done in 2021. Emotivity in the voice, prosodic, lexical and cultural appraisal of complaining speech. Specifically, 2 things that they say in the abstract. The presence of a complaining tone of voice has the largest effect on participant evaluations, while the nature of the statements had a significant but smaller influence. These results highlight a tacit agreement between speaker and listener. What characterizes a complaint is how it's said, more than what it is about or who produces it. So more about the actual way it's being said, not so much who says it, the messenger or the message itself. Which sucks, because so I'm kind of thinking of this like women, where like, so one of the things I was going to mention earlier, but I'm also now halfway through this, so I might as well talk about it. Logical solution to emotional problems and emotional solutions to logical problems. What I've noticed from purely anecdotal observations is that men tend to take emotional problems and try to give you a logical solution, whereas women tend to take a logical problem and convert it into an emotional solution and provide an emotional solution. And here's the problem. And while typically the hard part is, what do you naturally default to? Men tend to default to their logic. Women tend to default to their emotions. Purely from what I've seen, observational, doesn't mean it's a society-wide general interpretation. It's a personal interpretation, which also goes into interpretations, that there's like what your personal interpretation is and what is a fact. That's a different one that I don't think I'm doing today, but I'll do it in a different day. The one problem with logical solutions to emotional problems or emotional solutions to logical problems is that anything emotional problems or emotional solutions is, in my opinion, tied closely with identity. I think that's why, if as a guy you provide a logical solution to an emotional problem or disregard an emotional solution to a logical problem, women tend to take it as a threat to their identity. Like, you're not, like, this is an emotional solution, and if you disregard it, and it's like almost disregarding the person itself, which is not true, because when you're thinking about a logical problem or you're given a logical solution, there's no construct of identity in that. It's like, for example, if you have a brick, I don't think I have my drill with me. Here, one second. Let me give you a visual example. Here's a holster, and let's say for this, I should probably take this out of the way. I think I have a better way. Okay. I think I got this structured in my head properly. All right. So this is a pistol holster, and let's say logical problem. I want to disassemble this pistol holster. Let's see how well I can do this. This is the 3rd time I'm retaking this, and I'm like, how do I structure this without, so the way I do things, I try to consider everything involved, different personalities, different viewpoints, different ways of interpreting this. But at the same time, I also just need to tell you what my analogy is. So this is a pistol holster. This is from Tier 1 Concealed. This is for my pistol, this holster, apparently there's actually a better holster than this. I'm going on another tangent. I'm going to shut myself up. All right. So this holster, right? And let's say logical problem is that I want to unscrew these screws so I can either get this wedge down, or I forgot what to call that. I want to take these screws out and replace them with, I don't have them with me, clips, so that instead of it going on fudge. 1 second, let me get my other stuff. All right, take 4. Or take 3.5. I'm probably gonna integrate this in the other one. So let's say I have a gun belt. This is leather. I don't recommend using leather for your like concealed carry because I'm not like a firearms expert, but leather just, I am an expert on the fact that I've worn this. So this is my second pair. I wore this for like a year. It bends and starts like sagging and starts like stretching, and you're like, don't just get something composite. Get like get a non-leather one because those won't warp as much. This one will. This looks a lot nicer though. Anyways, all right, so this is a belt clip. So basically it goes between the belt and rides on the belt, whereas there's these other clips. These are pant clips. So basically instead of it clipping onto the belt, it clips onto your pants. So it has this little clipping mechanism. You clip it down and it clips to your pants behind your belt. So basically instead of it being belt ridden, it's pant ridden. So I think so that if you want to take off your belt but you don't want to take off your gun, there's that. Anyways, I'm not selling firearms, by the way. I think there's supposed to be like some sort of disclaimer. I'm not selling firearms. This is not like sales of firearms. I love firearms though. My point is, let's say you wanted to replace these belt clips with this clippity clips, screw it. Clippity clips. This is a very much a logical problem. If I'm coming into this and like, I say, this is a flathead screwdriver, that does not fit in these Phillips screwdrivers. So obviously you have to turn it around and now you have a Phillips screwdriver so you can use this properly. That would be a logical problem. I do not have any emotional tie to my logical problem because this has nothing to do with my identity. This is on my ability to process information and be able to say, this is something, that's a whole nother, there's no way there's no logical way of wanting to use my flathead for a Phillips screwdriver. One, it might damage a bit, but also two, like I have the ability to just switch it out. Why would I not do it? Which then turns into the emotional problem. Let's say someone else, I'm thinking about women, but this could be just a very insecure man we're talking about, who you give this and you're like, hey, why are you using a flathead? Just use those Phillips and you could do the thing so much more efficiently. And that's where the tone of voice comes in. I could say it, hey, you know what? You know, that would be a lot easier to do if you just used a flathead. That's one way. Or, dude, are you stupid or something? Why can't you just use a flathead or why can't you use a Phillips to unscrew this? 2 different tone of voices. One, of course, insecure men, that's a whole nother topic. Like, first of all, no. Second of all, like, why are you insecure? Please, like, you've got better things to worry about. But for the most part, like disregarding, maybe somewhere in their childhood, someone like they were trying to solve something and someone said, you're not smart enough to be able to do that. Go do something else or something. And then not so much the actual message that it's not so much your fault that they're now feeling negative, but rather they're misinterpreting a logical problem with an emotional solution. It's like there's no emotional solution or misinterpreting a logical problem with an emotional problem, which is also emotional regulation, active awareness. You can't control someone else's past, but also in this, and obviously this is an oversimplification, but my point is you can have your tone of voice means just as much. Tone of voice can be that switch between the logical problem from this being a logical problem and this being an emotional problem. It makes no sense for a typical situation, but let's say now, like right now, I'm not stressed out. There's no external influences. The only stress I have right now is getting done with this one video, and which is taking a lot longer than I was expecting. What do they call it? Productivity, not productivity. From a work ethic point of view, and so a professional point of view. Let's say you've dealt with 10 different customers, all complaining about returns or all complaining about a product they never received, and then all of those negativity, all that stuff, and now you have to go fix something. All of that, being able to emotionally disconnect is really difficult because one, obviously it's dependent on the person, but two, processing information can get interrupted by something else, and then switching between those and trying to figure out stuff while also regulating your own emotions and being able to let go of stuff. It's from an external point of view, it's really simple. From an internal point of view, it's very complicated. My point is actually, I don't have another point. I'm going to give you another study. Motivating tones of voice predict adolescents' reactions to mothers. This is from 2019. Again, just going with the abstract to keep things simple. Results suggest that the way speakers modulate their voice when intoning the same verbal messages affected adolescents' emotional, rational, and behavioral intention responses. Listening to mothers make motivating statements in an autonomy-supported autonomy. You ever get that feeling when you're reading something and you start editing in your brain? You're like, this could be said differently. And then you start doing it and you're like, I haven't even finished that sentence yet. Listening to mothers make motivating statements in an autonomy supportive relative to a neutral tone of voice elicited more positive and less negative emotions, increased closeness, and intentional behavioral engagement among 14 to 15-year-old adolescents, while the opposite set of findings emerged when adolescents listened to mothers making motivational statements in a controlling tone of voice. And there's psychological reactance. It's that feeling when you're about to do something like do the dishes, vacuum the floors, like do something that you're like, hey, I want to go do this. And then someone tells you right before you do it to go do it. And you're like, what? Why would I do it now? I had all the motivation to do it. I was ready to go do it, happy, and maybe mopping the floors, get some exercise in. And then you tell me to go do it. And now I don't want to do it. Psychological reactance. Again, another story, another thing for another video. 20 minutes record time so far. I mean, this might be like 10 minutes in because of all this like back and forth. And I'm like, hey, let me record this again. This stuff is very tiring. Not in a bad way, just I need to shut up sometimes. You know what? This is actually a pretty fun one. I'm going to say this from a gender neutral point of view, not because I'm like a liberal or anything, but rather because the two main characters, one's a woman, one's a man, and it's like there is the subjective interpretation of like there's that one thing on Google or one meme on about Google where like if you type my wife is abusing me, it's like maybe she doesn't understand anything. Maybe you should be more empathetic and be more understanding to her needs. And then it's like my husband is abusing me. You should call someone. Here's a number to 911. It's like there's societal subjective interpretations of things, and I want to keep this. If you're watching this, you'll be able to see the names, but in my mind, I'm just going to say person X and person Y, just to keep this. Even that's XY chromosomes. Okay, never mind. Person A and person B. How about that? And then you get into person alpha and person beta. Okay, great. You know what? Screw it. I don't care what you guys say or your interpretation. I'm just going to do it because I'm going to overthink this again. Person X had just finished presenting the quarterly report to the leadership team. It says she. Maya had just finished presenting the quarterly report to the leadership team. She thought it went well until her manager, Mason, cornered her in the break room 10 minutes later. Now that is subjective. I did not realize it's cornered obviously it's going to make a weird tone of voice because now it's like subjective. Like how you say something, corner. I don't like this. Cornered her shouldn't have been there. I just copied and pasted from my AI thingy. Cornered her in the break room 10 minutes. Encountered her. She encountered her in the break room. What were you thinking with those numbers? He snapped, his voice rising. You made us all look completely unprepared. The vice president was asking questions I couldn't even answer because you didn't include the breakdown I asked for. Maya's stomach dropped. She had included the breakdown on slide 12, but before she could say anything, Derek was already storming off, muttering about, Derek? You just said Mason. Note to self, proofread your stuff before you start reading it. Never mind. That's actually not a proofreading thing. That is a me thing. I changed it because, again, you know what? Screw it. Going down this tangent. Maya is a very soft voice, like a very soft tone, whereas Derek is cacophonic and sibilance. not cacophony, whatever the opposite of cacophonic is, which is you have, or plosives, sibilances, cacophony, where the way a word is said. So Derek is very, there's a cacophonic, a very harsher sound to it. Whereas Maya is more sibilant. It's more like it's a softer word. So I went with Mason, one for wording because both start with M, but also Mason is not a cacophonic. So now you don't have the subjective interpretation of negative point of view, which also does reinforce the story. So it's like, again, I overthink things, but Maya's stomach dropped. She included the breakdown on slide 12, but before she could say anything, Mason was already storming off, muttering about having to clean up this mess. Now Maya stands alone by the coffee maker, her hands shaking slightly as she grips her mug. Her heart is still racing as she still feels that hot, tight feeling behind her eyes that means tears aren't far away. She pulls out her phone, needing to tell someone what just happened. Now, when she makes that call to someone who's on the other side of that phone, I'm thinking of this from 3 different perspectives. The corporate tone, a friend who cares, and then someone who actually wants to listen. The corporate tone is, corporate tone, I understand you've experienced a challenging interaction. It's important to remember that another person's emotional response often reflects their own stress rather than your actions or worth. Take a moment to step back, process what occurred, and consider whether any legitimate concerns were raised that merit follow-up. Your professionalism and composure in these difficult moments demonstrate strength. The friend who actually cares, the friend who cares. Hey, that really sucked, and I'm sorry that happened to you. Just remember, someone losing their cool like that says way more about what's going on with them than anything about you. You didn't deserve to be on the receiving end of that. Take a breath, maybe grab some water, or step outside for a sec. You're okay, and this moment doesn't define your day or your worth. Both, well, the corporate one, I hate. Tangent? What was I going to say? I think I'm going to get this to the next one or three videos. Words of encouragement versus words of affirmation. I've never been a fan of affirmation because it's fake, in my opinion. Affirmations, while they sound good on the surface, they just sound good and it's an appeal to vanity rather than like an actual here's an understanding. Anyways, that's a different video. But the third person I was going to mention is someone who actually wants to listen, which is what part hurt the most. Typically, it's not so much giving the solution, but rather just, hey, talk it out. So everything in this one case study, in this one, what do you call it? Not case study. In this one make-believe story is, because this is not based off of anyone specific. I literally just made it. It just literally got made up. The one thing about this case study is that you also understand everything that she's thinking about. So you hear that her stomach dropped and everything she's thinking about in real time. So her stomach dropped. Her heart is still racing. Tears aren't far away. The tone of the voice of how he said it, word for word, is still in her brain, like resonating. Again, this doesn't have to be just because it's a she. It could be a he. It could be, it could have been man on woman, woman on woman, man on woman, man on man. Anyways, there could be a whole bunch of different things here. Not just, this is again very subjective. I'm trying to make sure that's clear. It's like, it's not just one person. It's not just one-on-one. It's like there's a whole different spectrum of stuff that can be considered. So with all of that being considered, all of that in consideration of both the interpretation plus the story plus the subjective tone of voice and everything being considered, imagine this. You're the one who's getting that call, and all you hear is, do you have a minute? She or he called you, and all they say is, do you have a minute? Which could be like 5 minutes, could be 10 minutes, but do you have some time for me? That's an interpretation. All you hear is, do you have a minute? Nothing else. You don't know what, you don't know the feelings. Hell, they might not even know their own feelings because everything is happening in real time. You don't hear what was it? People don't remember what you say. They don't remember what you did. They just remember how you made them feel. I think that's attributed to Maya Angelou. I think there's like a whole different, it also could be anyways, the main point I wanted to make in this video was someone gives you that. They give you, I wish I had something to illustrate this better. I have lacrosse balls. Pretend these are glass, all right? Got lacrosse balls, and let's say I want to make an analogy of like how sometimes it's like they're feeling blue or they're feeling angry. Like this could be a context of emotions where you have two different colors. You have one anger based, one sad based. You could have like, this is a stupid duality because it's a way oversimplification. But essentially, let's say they're doing one of these and let's say it's anger. Let's say, for example, let's say it's anger. They give you this. That is a part of who they are. For emotional problems requiring emotional solutions, sometimes it's just a matter of taking this and saying, okay, this is what you're giving me. Why? Or what? Or what? Or that also can be, again, how you say it is just as important as the message itself, both on the receiving end and the explaining end, both on providing and receiving. Here's something you're giving me. This is whatever you make of it, your interpretations, not so much my feelings. And it's like, I don't know what you're going through. I don't know what this is. This could be a single point in time. This could be an accumulation of experiences over the last 20 years. This is something you're giving me. It's just a matter of treating this with the fragility that it has, how fragile this can be, and how much this means to you.
Being honest with yourself up front, and then being honest with the person that you're with and saying, hey, I like my little army men figures. Don't make me lose this. This is a part of who I am when you met me, and you like me for me. You might not like that part of me, but it's part of me. Don't make me lose that just because you don't like it. Instead, you need to separate your paper clips a little bit so I've got some space so that I can go through and do that thing every once in a while. And having that ability to say, I give to you in the hopes that you give to me. And we have this reciprocity across all levels of it, from the communication to the romantic side of things, every area of it. As long as that reciprocity is there and no one feels like they're being taken advantage of, trust gets built better that way, just because we're open with our communication and our fears and our everything else, and we're being completely vulnerable. And we say, I'm showing you this as a token of trust. Don't abuse it. Don't get me the stuffed animal of the snapping turtle, right? Like, I'm telling you, these are my triggers. I'm telling you, these are my hobbies, or my passions. Do with it as you will, and just know that right now the judges are watching.